Rivals! It's a popular trope in anime that continues to ignite our passions and warm our hearts. What is it about seeing two opposing characters constantly engaging in less than friendly sparring that we find so delightful? Well, just sit back, relax, and get your anime weapons out, because in today's video, we will attempt to not answer that question. That's right, screw all that crap, because for the rest of this video, we will only be talking about rival characters in the Yuri genre. Also, for the rest of this video, I will stop talking like some cringe-ass Watch Mojo host. Yeah. Welcome to Yuri Boy Gareth, and in today's video, we will be counting down some of the best rival Yuri ships in anime. So get ready, folks, it's gonna get competitive. You get it? Because they're rivals.
Let's get Yurified.
By the way, Watch Mojo, hit me up if you need a narrator. I'm always available. So here we are again. This time we're starting off with my very first Yuri Girls video. And just to refresh your memory, these are a series of videos where I list out characters or ships from anime that fall under specific anime tropes. And today we're gonna talk about one of my favorite tropes of all time, rivalries. But with Yuri. That's right. In this video, we're gonna talk about popular Yuri pairings that have a rival relationship, i.e. relationships between characters that focuses on some form of direct competition. Just in case you're an alien. Now before we begin, I'd like to make a few things clear about these videos in general. Contrary to what I said at the beginning, these won't be countdown lists. These videos will include an indeterminate number of ships or characters and be listed in no particular order. Also, the ships that I include into these videos are usually typically well established in their anime and amongst Yuri shippers. They don't have to be canon too, just as long as there's a strong relationship establishment in their series. I mentioned this in my Yuri shipping video, but it bears repeating. I cannot guarantee the inclusion of every single ship or character that might fall under these tropes. Reasons range from my lack of knowledge of an anime or just simple forgetfulness. I can't stress this enough, but I will definitely try my best. Next, I want to briefly lay out the criteria for this video. Because we're going to talk about ships that have a rival relationship, that is all I'm going to talk about. Their rival relationship. I'm just going to focus on that element alone, as opposed to talking about the ship in general, because God only knows how long a video like that would be. Also, that's going to be the case with every Yuri Girls video. Now, because the concept of rivalry can be interpreted in multiple ways, I'm just gonna keep things simple. Basically, the ships that are included in this video are those that have a generally non-hostile competitive relationship, where they're competing to achieve a similar goal or to best each other in their shared field of expertise. The reason I included non-hostile is because I just wanted to talk about ships that have more of a friendly competitive relationship going on, and because a typical rivalry could also indicate a relationship where the characters have some form of conflict with each other, which would be way too broad. Besides, I also have another video I plan to make called Friends and Enemies, where I talk about ships that have a simultaneous friend/enemy dynamic, or where the characters start off as enemies but eventually become friends. There's a fair amount of those in the Yuri genre, and I didn't want that to also comprise of rivals. Not to mention, I would have a slightly longer lifespan on YouTube by making separate videos. And the last condition I want to mention is that the rivalry aspect has to be relatively important in the ship's relationship. This is just so that I don't end up with a ship where the characters are technically rivals, but that aspect is not utilized in any way. Anyway, I think I bored you enough with all this yammering. Let's just get right into it, and check out all the beautiful rivalries that made an impact in the Yuri world. Himawari and Sakurako, YuruYuri. We're kicking things off with a classic. When we're first introduced to these two in the second episode, the show wastes no time in establishing their rivalry. Both girls are in a heated war to become the next student council vice president at their school, which, by the way, it seems like that point of contention has fallen to the wayside at some point. I could be wrong, but it feels like it's been forever since they even brought that up. Anyway, putting that aside, Himasaku delivers the intense rivalry vibe, more so from their butting heads with each other at every opportunity, reminding us, the viewers, that they're definitely not attracted to each other. You get it? Honestly, if I had to break down their relationship in terms of tropes, it probably looks something like this. 45% tsundere, 35% rivals, 15% childhood friends, and 5% boob grabbing. Point is, them being rivals is an important part of their Yuri relationship. It gives us plenty of sweet and entertaining moments that make us squeal like little titmice. Also, I would be remiss in my duties as a Yuri fan if I didn't include Ayano and Toshino Kyouko on this list. While this is more of a one-sided rivalry, it's worth mentioning because it gives us a hilarious recurring gag throughout the series. Also, in case you didn't catch on, this is mainly Ayano's excuse to become closer to Toshino Kyouko. The old "I'll whip up some drama between the two of us in order to get your attention because I'm too tsundere" approach. You know, the classic. Also, I might as well give a shout out to the eternal rivals Mirakurun and Rivalun from the Magical Girl Mirakurun series. I mean, technically they're enemies, but one of them does have rival in their name, so why the hell not? Agari and Koyori, Scorching Ping-Pong Girls. Now here we have a rivalry that began with two girls with two very different motivations for playing table tennis. We get Agari, who played to become number one at all costs, and to receive the glorification and hoopla from being number one. Then we get Koyori, whose sole reason for playing is to feel the crazy intense rush of adrenaline that not even 20 lines of cocaine can replicate. Damn, girl, go easy on that stuff. Seriously though, she really loves playing table tennis. The thrill of being able to play her darndest and making her opponents feel the same way is what drives her to be so passionate about the sport. When Agari first sees the extent of Koyori's skills and learns how good a ping pong player she is, she immediately began to fear for her spot as the ace of the club. Agari knew that she would no longer receive the adoration of her peers if there was another player who was better than her, but in episode 3, during an intense match, Koyori was able to push Agari to her limits, a reminder of the thrill of playing table tennis. After giving her an orgasm, Agari thanked Koyori for making table tennis more than just a gateway for praise and attention for her. Instead, she realized how important it was to feel the joy and excitement of playing her artist for the sport she loves. She then accepted Koyori as a worthy friend and rival. Throughout the show, the two continuously competed while helping to improve each other's skills. And thanks to this adorable rivalry, both girls were able to be the best players they can be, both on the court and in the bedroom. Lion and Moose, Kemono Friends. Now I know when you think of pairings in Kemono Friends, the first thing to come to mind are the darling Kaban and Serval. And while they do have plenty of merits, one must not overlook the amazing underrated potential of the two alpha lesbians, Lion and Moose. In episode 6, we learned that Lion had fought Moose's army on more than 50 occasions and claimed victory every time. She was exceptionally bored of yielding the same results and not being able to fight Moose personally due to Moose's less than effective strategy. I mean, charging at your enemy one at a time in a straight line can only get you so far. In fact, I have footage on how their battles went. So with her sexual frustration level at an all-time high, Lion enlists the help of Kaban and Serval to find a way to give Moose's army a sporting chance. So after their epic duel ended in a draw, Lion and Moose instantly became friends with benefits, and they would later compete with each other through games rather than through duels. Now I suppose Lion and Moose's relationship could also fit into my future friends and enemies video, but I kind of view them more just as friendly rivals, playing fun little war games, so I'm just gonna feature them here in this video only. Cheetah and Pronghorn, Kemono Friends 2. Now I know what you're gonna say, and before you say it, let me just make it clear that I don't intend on discussing the controversy surrounding the second season of the show. You're welcome to feel however you want about it, but for me, I'm just here to talk about two of the characters, and specifically their rivalry. Now, whether or not you watched the second season, I will say that these two were a pleasant addition to the Kemono Friends cast. We get Cheetah, a cocky, honest-to-goodness tsundere, and Pronghorn, a dashingly charming tomboy, and she wears track and field attire. Ain't that cute? Anyway, in episode 7, we learned that these two have basically been in a heated battle for speed supremacy. After catching up to her, Pronghorn demands that Cheetah race her again. It's actually kinda adorable how Pronghorn constantly pursues Cheetah for a race, with the latter being annoyed at Pronghorn's persistence. But since she's a tsundere, that just means she loves it. During their second race, a weird-ass cerulean suddenly appeared on the tracks, and our characters were forced to flee. Pronghorn then accidentally tripped and injured her leg, and when it seemed like all hope was lost for her, she was then saved / princess carried by Cheetah. After defeating the cerulean, the gang were able to breathe a sigh of relief, with Pronghorn and Cheetah growing closer as rivals and potential lovers. I do want to say though, that the relationship build-up and overall drama between these two could have been done a lot better. Like the whole Cheetah saving Pronghorn thing. As nice as it was, it didn't really amount to much, or feel like anything was building to that. For example, example, it could have been more impactful if the two actually had more beef together. Like they didn't really like each other, maybe because of how much they like to boast about themselves. But then they start to earn each other's respect after seeing how passionate they were about running. And then after she saw that Pronghorn was in trouble, Cheetah can put her pride aside and save the person who had previously always been a nuisance to her, especially after realizing that she wasn't such a bad person. Then they can have hot, passionate sex with each other to celebrate their newly found friendship. I don't know. Seems like it'd be better. Anyway, what's done is done, and I can at least appreciate the relationship between these two rivals. I also hope to God we get more fan art of them. Sai and Natsume, Hidamari sketch. So like Ayano and Toshi no Kyouko, here's another example of a one-sided rivalry, and where one of the characters is a super tsundere. And if you can't tell by her constant blushing, Natsume is the tsundere. Now to be honest, there's not a lot to be said about their quote-unquote rivalry. It's mainly a side effect of Natsume's tsunderiness, where she would occasionally attempt to challenge or provoke Sai into some competition. Unlike Toshi no Kyouko, however, at least Sai would react earnestly most of the time. I guess they're really just rivals in name only, but during the times where they do bicker, it does invoke that classic rival chemistry that we're so used to seeing. Again, unfortunately, there's just not much more to discuss. However, I promise I'll have more to say about these two once I get to my tsundere Yuri Girls video. Trust me, that's gonna be a good one. Special Week and Silent Suzuka, Uma Musume, Pretty Derby. Now, I was a bit ambivalent about adding these two on this list, because while technically they are rivals, at the same time they don't really do anything rivalry-ish. I mean, yes, they do finally get to race each other in episode 13. I guess it's not really a traditional anime rivalry is what I'm saying. In any case, we can still discuss what kind of relationship they had that led to their rivalry. It first began with newcomer horse girl Special Week watching a race for the first time. There she was instantly drawn to the dazzling Silent Suzuka and her sexy legwork. Absolutely blown away by her mad skills, Special Week was determined to be as good as Suzuka. The two are eventually introduced to each other after Special Week was persuaded to join Team Spica. There she learned that Suzuka has also recently joined the team in order to make her racing dreams come true. Throughout the course of their training, they both help each other grow as racers, not just in skills, but also through emotional support, especially during their low points. For Suzuka, her lowest point came in episode 7, where she sustained a fracture in her left leg while racing. After rushing to her aid, Special Week spilled her heart out to Suzuka, reminding her of the promise they made of competing in a race together. And even despite the uncertainty of Suzuka's injury impacting her ability to race, Special Week assured her that she'll eventually be back in the game at 100%. At this point, Special Week considered Suzuka to be a precious friend, who she idolized profoundly, so she took it upon herself to personally nurse Suzuka back to health. However, Special Week's fixation on Suzuka would eventually cause her to lose focus on her own races, leading to unwanted results. In episode 9, while the gang are partaking in a triathlon, Special Week stops in an attempt to help a struggling Suzuka. We then get a powerful speech by our unnamed trainer, suggesting that if they truly want to be supportive of each other, they should consider the other as a rival, in order to boost each other's skills and have a target to surpass. This would give them the motivation they needed to overcome their current struggles. It also restored both of their glorious racing skills. With their newfound rivalry established, both girls would go on to win races with flying colors, and they would eventually fulfill their promise in the final episode, showcasing how far their rivalry and support for each other has taken them. Now, despite their lack of competitiveness, I can still say that I appreciated their lovingly supportive relationship. It also made me realize that not all rivalries have to be slightly antagonistic. Again, that's mostly something we're used to seeing, and it's fundamentally entertaining to watch, which is probably best exemplified by Vodka and Daiwa's Scarlet. Now, these two definitely fill in that role of a classic rival pair. Every scene we get of them is basically these two bickering and competing to see who's better. However, that's pretty much their entire gimmick in this series. I don't know, I was kinda hoping we'd get an episode featuring these two, or at least half an episode, where we can get more insight into their characters beyond being one-trick ponies. Anyway, that's not to say they aren't adorable to watch. You can tell their relationship is built on a mixture of respect and infatuation, a hallmark on any good rival pair, I suppose. Tokai Teio and Meijiro McQueen, Uma Musume Pretty Derby, Season 2. Now, this one is gonna be a bit tricky for me to talk about. The first reason is that, honestly, I don't really ship them all that much. I mean, they're alright. It's just that, well, you know. It's kinda hard to ignore all that. As a result, I probably won't sound as enthusiastic as the other ships. Full disclosure, I definitely don't have a problem with this ship existing. It's just that it surprised me for a bit, and it took me some time to get used to. And the second reason this will be tricky for me to talk about is that our two main characters go through some drama together. A lot of it, actually. Which is why I'll have to do my best to try to condense their story as much as possible, and to not turn this video into a total downer. Anyway, sit tight, folks. This is gonna be a long ride. So we learned that Teio and McQueen have had a rivalry since they first met each other, on their first day attending the horse racing academy, actually. And for a while, they've had a perfectly friendly rivalry. Some trash talking here, and some mild compliments there. Nothing substantial, but they consistently acknowledged each other as talented horse girls who posed as solid competition. However, despite their rivalry, both girls have different goals they want to accomplish, at least at the start of the season. In episode 2, we learned that Teio received a fracture on her left leg. This causes her to drop out of the fall Kakashi race, which then screws her ability to be a Triple Crown horse girl. And at this point, it was her dream to be an undefeated Triple Crown winner, just like her beloved student council president, Simbali Rudolph. Teio then decides to meet her dream halfway and simply be an undefeated horse girl. After recovering from her injury and entering in the spring Tennoji race, Teio discovers that fate is a horrible bitch goddess that helps you up onto the pavement after you've fallen, only to push you into incoming traffic. My point is that Teio gets her dreams shattered again by losing for the first time ever, and she was beaten by none other than her rival, Meijiro McQueen. And to pour even more salt into that gaping wound, in episode 6, Teio is jarringly diagnosed with another leg fracture, and then another leg injury, both in the same episode. Look, I understand that the series is based on the real-life events of real horses, but this is an anime adaptation. I think you're allowed a little bit of wiggle room. I mean, this information is given to us right after a character hits her lowest point, and it happens off screen with barely any time for us to process it. And if that wasn't jarring enough, McQueen also gets an off-screen leg fracture. I think the word I'm looking for is pacing. The reason this is so odd is that we have a preconceived notion on how serious a leg injury is to these characters, even going back to season 1 with Suzuka. Typically, an ordeal like this should be delivered with weight and even a build-up, not casually dropped onto us. Also, these things occur right after our main characters experience important dramatic moments in their lives, with McQueen winning the Tennocho race and Teio losing her undefeated title. At this point, we understand that Teio is overwhelmed by her first loss. We didn't need to add more complications to it, at least not so damn soon. Oh, sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there. Back to the characters. So with Teio down in the dumps and totally directionless, she pays a visit to a rehabilitating McQueen at her home. McQueen informs her that what keeps her going is her goal to surpass Teio, a person she greatly looks up to and respects. Realizing how passionate McQueen is, Teio makes it her new goal to also surpass her worthy opponent, and thus Teio and McQueen's rivalry is rekindled. So after the two both recover from their injuries and are in top shape again, they eventually prepare for their next race together, this time at the Spring Takarada Rika race. But the Happiness Police has set their sights on Teio once again, and inflicted her with her 4th leg injury. Wait, it's 4, right? Not like 8 or 10? Yeah, that's right, it's 4. So with her ability to race being completely thrown out the window again, Teio gave up all hope in being able to compete against McQueen like they promised. But thanks to the efforts of Team Canopus and Spica, and their never stopping attitude, they managed to convince Teio to not give up on her racing career. And with her passion to race alongside McQueen reignited, Teio slowly and steadily worked her way back to form. Not too long after, Teio would have to show off her intense resolve and efforts, after McQueen was diagnosed with a very serious case of last-minute injury for dermatitis. McQueen didn't want to give up on her promise with Teio, especially not after convincing her that miracles are possible. Then Teio rushed to her side and was all like, "Fear not, babe. I'll prove to you that I can perform a miracle, because you made me believe in them." And so she did. Despite some heavy competition, Teio blew away all expectations by coming in first in the Arima Kosei race. Thanks to her overwhelming determination and massive support, Teio became an underdog legend and showed everyone, including McQueen, a true miracle. Soon after, though it wasn't an official race, Teio and McQueen would later fulfill their promise together and race each other again, proving that an unrelentingly supportive rival can help you overcome the most impossible of hardships. Maya and Claudine, Shoujo Kageki, Revue Starlight. You knew this was coming, folks, and I cannot be more excited to talk about it. These two are the epitome of an intimate rivalry. Even though they don't always show it, they admire and respect each other to an incredibly high degree, and whether they are near or far, they are constantly thinking of each other, with hearts full of longing and an unbearable desire to feel their warm, supple body pressing against their own. Oh crap, we're talking about their rivalry, right? Now technically every character in the main cast is a rival to another, but just to keep things simple, and because I'm a lazy I'm just gonna focus on Maya and Claudine's rivalry instead. So these two first met each other at the Seisho Music Academy entrance exam. Claudine, who admits to knowing who Maya is, watched her carefully in order to see the full extent of her repertoire. Little did she know that Maya would be such a bombshell of majestic talent. Her performance shook Claudine to the very core, and put into perspective the differences in their power levels. Since then, Claudine has made it her sworn goal to surpass her magnificent rival. Whether it was on stage, the dance floor, or the Revue duels, Claudine did everything she could to prove that she was superior. And while Claudine was often met with disappointment and frustration, Maya, on the other hand, took reverse pleasure in seeing her beloved little kitten try so hard to best her. I mean, Jesus, how many times has she got off from sexually teasing Claudine into a submissive, trembling mess? One can only imagine. But in all seriousness, Maya did not take their rivalry lightly by any means. Like Claudine, she was fueled by her love of the stage and the desire to be the best performer. Having seen each other's mad skills and lofty ambitions, they were both able to develop a relationship based on mutual respect, intense competition, and an overwhelming urge to their with all night long. So their rivalry finally culminates in episode 10, where we get to see their love on full display. During the review, the two basically confess their love by acknowledging how they can only go the distance with each other. No one else could be a better match in skills and passion. And yes, I meant that in a sexual way as well. And even though they lose the duel in the end, they still come out on top. Both girls were able to be as good as they are because of the other's intense determination. And this paves the way for them to get even better. Not just as stage girl rivals, but as stage girl lovers. And with that, we are done. Now, of course, there might be more rivals in the Yuri genre that I'm either forgetting or just aren't aware of. I won't deny that possibility, but I feel like I should at least mention one rival pairing that people will no doubt bring up, and that is Nanoha and Fate from the Magical Girl Nanoha series. Simply put, I've not seen this series. Yeah, that's right. What are you gonna do about it? But seriously though, I just never really got around to it. That's all. I got nothing against the series. I think it's because I never got a good pitch for it. But yeah, my knowledge on it is incredibly scanty. I mean, at the very least, I know about how popular these two are, and how they started off as enemies or something. And to be honest, I don't even know if they would fit under the rival criteria that I set up. In any case, if there's a pair you think should be on this list, by all means let me know, so that I might take a gander at them. I meant check out the series, not underneath their skirt. Anyway, so I think you got a sense of what my Yuri Girls videos are gonna be like. There are many other tropes to cover in the Yuri genre, along with fantastic ships. So if you enjoyed listening to me go gaga over these ships, consider following me on YouTube and social media. I'll be making plenty more of these videos as time goes on. Well, that's all I got for you today, folks. But before I go, do you agree with my picks? Check out these other great clips from Yuri Boy Gareth, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell for new videos every day.